Welcome to Pre-Snap Podcast, presented by LineStar app. Here's your host, Casey Bubba and Scott Bogman.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pre-Snap Podcast, brought to you by the wonderful people at LineStar Sports. Make sure you check them out on Twitter at LineStar app and at LineStar NFL. And most importantly, download the app in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store to give you everything you need in the palm of your hands to build your winning DFS lineups. We are here. It is week 14, an 11-game main slate to break down for you. And you can find me on Twitter at BDentry with any of your questions. And to help me break it all down on Twitter at Bogman Sports. Scott Bogman, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this. Just looking at this first game going, oh, who are we going to pick from it already? There's some ugly games, but there are some players to pick through here for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some cherry pick spots. There's going to be some games where you just want to kind of cross things off and stay focused. It's a weird one. Like you said, let's just kick things off. Let's not even sugarcoat it. Atlanta at Carolina. Carolina minus 2.5, over under 42.5. And I said it on the Picks and Bets show. It's an ugly game, but it's a game that in tournaments I could see doing something. It could be a disappointment, but I wouldn't be shocked if something fun happens in this game too. So what do you like?
I don't hate the price of Cam Newton at 5,400. I'll just say that right up front. I don't love him, so I don't know how much I like this, but I do like the price. So I'll say that I like the price of Cam Newton at 5,400. Other than that, I don't know what they're going to do at running back without CMC, so I just don't trust it. So that's a scratch on, Amir Abdullah or Chuba Hubbard, whichever one it is. I'm guessing Chuba, but would not be shocked to see them go to Amir. So don't want to mess with it. Pass on that. I do like Russell Gage. Russell Gage is a player that I like. 5,700, 6,200. I mentioned him last week. He really paid off. They fed him a lot of targets. Still don't want to pay up for Pitts. Not going to pay up for DJ Moore at this price. Can't do Tremble. I can't do it. I love him, but I can't do it. And I don't want either part of either of these defenses. I guess the Panthers might be okay because they're so cheap at 2,800. But yeah, I think Russell Gage is my main play in this game.
Yeah, I like the Gage call. You've been all over him last week. It helped me out a ton in some tournaments. You opened my eyes to him. I dug in. I even wrote him up for a cash game article after we discussed things that made a lot more sense to me. And I looked at the LineStar tool, and it showed some awesome stats to back that up as well. So I get the Gage call. Still very, very affordable at 57 and 62. Like way too affordable, to tell you the truth. Nice little discount there for the targets he's getting. Don't mind Cam, as you said. He can't play as bad as he played against the Dolphins, against this Atlanta defense. And off the bye week, it can only help him out to get his feet more acclimated back into this Carolina world. Different offense than before, but you know what I'm trying to say with that. So I think that's a good look there. The other thing I'll mention is DJ Moore. Like, as rough as things are, he's only 6,200 on DK, 68 on FanDuel. Still got a ton of targets from Cam. They're just all over the place. He, I believe, according to PFF, leads the league in missed catches due to quarterbacks mess ups on the season. Like, it's like 21 or 22 this year. It's insane, but they keep forcing it to him.
Funny.
And we know how good DJ Moore is. So I think he's a very intriguing tournament play at 62 and 68 against this Atlanta defense. The running backs are confusion. I still like Cordarrelle at any point in time if you want. I think he's always got that tournament appeal.
I want to push back on him. Just for a second.
You did say something earlier this week. You're right.
It was he's in the last 3 games, and the first 2 were a little banged up, and then coming back banged up. Has played in less than 50% of the snaps in the last 3 games for Patterson, which makes no sense because he's been their best player. But we saw Mike Davis score a touchdown last week. He has 3 touchdowns on the year. And I think his last one before last week was October 10th. So it's just, like I said, that's why for me, it's what have you done for me lately in this game? Nobody outside of DJ Moore, Russell Gage, maybe you throw Matt Ryan in there, have done a lot for us recently. So for me, I'm just very narrow-minded when it comes to this matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you. The last thing I will say is Kyle Pitts, much more used last week in a game where they had to, but I think that's an interesting way to go too. But my favorite plays are DJ Moore and Russell Gage. If I had to pick the 2, I think they both have some tournament appeal in this game. If you want to put a little game stack together, I think this has, out of all the bad games, this has one of the potentials to be entertaining and kind of offensive, possibly. Otherwise, just take a couple pieces because we're going to start talking about some games like the next one where anything can happen, but I'm not putting my eggs in before the chicken on this one, or whatever the saying goes. I'll ask Welsh. He knows all those
there
sayings.
you go, Welsh.
Yeah.
Not going to
I
put
totally
all
feel
your
like Welsh as I was
eggs,
saying that. I'm like,
your eggs in one basket. Is that what you're trying to get at?
It's a redundum moment. This is how it goes. So yeah, that's it's going to be a fun one that just tells you where the slate's going. Baltimore at Cleveland. Cleveland -2.5 over under 42. Like I said, it gets better, Bogman.
I mean, does it? I can't pay this price for Lamar with what he's been doing. I can't pay for Baker Mayfield because he is playing hurt. I can't pay $5,700 or $6,300 for Devontae Freeman, specifically after what he looked like last week. Even Nance and Romo were talking about it. It looked like he had more bursts than he ever really has had over the last 2 or 3 seasons in that game against Pittsburgh. So he has looked good, and the price of $57 and $63 is very affordable. Chubb is expensive. Don't mind him if you want to go with him. Kareem Hunt is cheap, but how much of the workload are they giving him, right? Just came back last week. Didn't give him a lot. Or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, because they were on bye. But they didn't give him a lot. Are they going to go back to giving him the ball 50% of the time? Or is he, a quarter of the time now? I'm not sure. So he just makes me nervous. Don't want anything to do with pass catchers on either side of this team unless it's Mark Andrews, and he is expensive at 59 and 69. So for me, it's mainly Devontae Freeman in this game, and that's about all I like.
Yeah, it's pretty much a pass for me, dog, unless you really feel like taking a chance in a tournament. But I'm not even going to try to get cute. I've seen some bold takes already on Twitter saying Donovan Peoples-Jones because he's so cheap. If you want to go for the GPP dart, sure, but I'm just going to pass in this game all around. The one I think is interesting is the Browns defense, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Browns defense at 27 on DK, 41 on FanDuel against this beat-up Ravens team. And you said it on the Showdown show, the Steelers had 7 sacks, and a lot of it's because you get Lamar starting to run. And
he threw the 4 picks the game before, right?
Yeah.
So he said, I'm not going to throw the picks this game. And he got sacked, and you just dealt with TJ Watt. It gets way easier with Myles Garrett this week, so I'm with you. Okay. You know what? You talked me into it. I'd say Cleveland defense on the table as well.
Decent value.
Yeah.
Let's go to the game of the week here. Buffalo at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay -3 over under 52.5. Buffalo looking to rebound while the Tom Brady's continue to put their foot on the gas.
Yeah, look, I tell you what I like in this game, and it's because, you and I have sat here and talked about how your Miami Dolphins blueprinted those Ravens, right? And they really did. They really blueprinted them. Do you think the Patriots maybe did the same thing to the Bills by throwing the ball only 3 times? And I know a lot of that had to do with the weather, but they got gashed. And Lenny Fournette is expensive, but I still love him. This week, 7,400, 7,600. We saw what Belichick did against Buffalo. They ran on him. Brady's been throwing interceptions the last, I think, 4 weeks in a row. He's got a pick. It might be 5. It's been a lot of picks for him recently. He gave Atlanta 7 of their 17 points last week by throwing that pick 6 to Marlon Davidson. So I think you reestablish the run. We've seen Tampa Bay do this. They went to Fournette, I think maybe 6 weeks ago. They gave him the ball 30 times. I think this could be one of those games for Tampa Bay where they, between rushing and passing, they could give him the ball close to 30 times. So I love him at 74, 76. I think this could be a good bounce back game for Josh Allen. So I'd be a little more into him at 78 and 88 than I normally would be. Don't want anything to do with the Buffalo running game. Godwin, we saw have 1 million targets. Mike Evans has a good price at 6,600. Diggs at 81 is always expensive, could always be in play. I love this price on Sanders at 49 and 58 because I think the Bills will be down and playing catch up. So I do like Sanders at 49, 58. And, you could say the same thing for Beasley at 5 and 59 as well. Gronk is your pay up tight end every single week. Not paying for Knox, not paying for either one of these defenses. So for me, it's mainly Lenny. Josh Allen, if you want to pay for him, and the whatever expensive wideout you want to pay for, and I will add Emmanuel Sanders to my list as well.
I don't disagree. I think Lenny is a great play, like phenomenal play. No matter how it plays out, they'll either hand it off or throw it to him. So he's going to get his. I feel like as they kind of counted on him. I got a couple questions. So I'll start with this one. If you think they run the ball, they try to run the ball as much as New England did. Does Ronald Jones at 42 and 48 have any appeal for you?
No, because I don't. All he's good for is vulturing, really. Unless they get up real big, and you got to think Buffalo's going to play with pride at least this week, right? So I don't know that their lead gets enormous. I don't think it gets 3 touchdowns or 3 scores even. I think they keep it within a 2-score game most of the time. So, I mean, Ronald Jones he'll vulture in a normal game where they just use Lenny too much and they give Ronald Jones the ball down near the goal line. But they've also given Lenny 4 touchdown games before. So I like him, Ronald Jones, but I don't like him. I don't have the stones to play him here.
Okay. Other question. If we both think Buffalo scores points as much, do you think that the Buccaneers have a chance to run the ball as much as they want to?
Yeah, I think maybe not as much as they want to, but I think that's how you start the game. Okay. And then, I think you feed Lenny regardless. So, I think people just forgot how fast he is, dude. Yeah, he is a fast running back and he's big. So, love Leonard Fournette.
Just wait, James Robinson, Lenny 2.0 out of Jacksonville coming up. Same. I'm just kidding. But Jacksonville screws things up. But I like Lenny. I'm with you there. Chris Godwin, especially in cash, just keep playing him. You get peppered a ton. Gronk's on fire. So if you want to go even with Brady, that whole passing game, fine. Given Buffalo's secondary is very, very good. So it might not be as easy, but I still believe Brady's going to do Brady things, especially if they're able to establish the run early. Then you give Brady the play action and stuff. Just watch out. That's dangerous all over the place. But on the flip side, I like it. You mentioned Diggs, you mentioned Manny. I think Cole Beasley's a sneaky good, maybe not sneaky, a very good play in this game because he'll get used to kind of control the clock once in a while. This is a fun game. This is a good game to watch. The ownership projections come in to see what more injury news comes out because it's going to be a very popular game. So you're going to have to find out how to be different. This is the best game of the slate, the highest total on the slate. Everyone's going to look at this game. You're going to want to stack up the Tampa Bay side at first glance. But in reality, if Buffalo's playing from behind, you're going to want that Buffalo side with a splash of Tampa Bay is how it really turns out. Like Buffalo maybe with Lenny or Buffalo with Lenny and Godwin or something like that. You're going to want the Buffalo throwing side of this if you think Tampa Bay does what we think Tampa Bay is going to do. So just keep that in mind when you're building this lineup. Definitely going to want some of this action. Just depends on how you want to put it together. Dallas at Washington, probably the best early game of the day, as we discovered on our Thursday show. Dallas -4 on the road, over under 48.
Yeah, I like this game. So Dak, probably my number 1 quarterback in this slate, 67 and 8,100. Love that price on him specifically for DK. I also like Heineke. Heineke's cheap, dude. 55 and 7,100. I think that's a great price on him as well. The running backs are tough. I would say if I'm picking one in this game, it's Antonio Gibson at 6,000 and 7,400. Zeke just said that he's not going to be 100% for at least a month, according to his MRI. Tony Pollard didn't practice on Wednesday with the foot thing. We don't know what his status is going to be like. I'm not going to McKissick, even though he's back. I'm not going to Jarrett Patterson at all. So for me, it's mainly Gibson because they've just been giving him the big workload. But my favorite pay up is probably CeeDee Lamb, 7,200, 7,800 bucks. But there's weirdness with the running backs in Dallas. Plus, you need to win this game and make a statement. This kind of puts you way ahead of the East if you take this game from Washington, because Washington has been really, really good since coming off their bye. So if you stop the momentum, I think this is over with. Dallas is a playoff lock. I think they already are anyway. Probably, but I think I think they're a playoff lock, and they could be fighting for a little home field here too. So I love CeeDee Lamb. Not as big on paying up for McLaurin. If I'm going to pay up, I'd just rather pay for Lamb. He's 200 more bucks. And DeAndre Carter, though, I do like at 34 and 52. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good, Washington gets behind. They start throwing the ball. Heineke likes to go to him. And if he breaks one off, he can score. So I love his price at 34 and 5,200 as well. And John Bates, 3,000, 4,600. We know Logan Thomas out for the year. They've been going to him. He's super cheap at 3,000 and 4,600. So I like that price as well.
There's no Ricky Seals is back at practice, though. Just keep that in mind.
But they play 2 tight end sets.
True.
So they'll throw to both of them.
True, but keeps that one on our toes. But I'm with you, Dak, at his price point, especially on DK at 67. 81 on FanDuel is a little more respectable, but 67 on DK in a game where they should throw a lot, that's very intriguing. I'm always Tony Pollard over Zeke in my mind, so if you want to throw some Pollard in a tournament, go for it, but I want the passing attack of Dak to CD and maybe some Gallup still. Like, I think Cooper's a great price point, but I'm still not 100% on where he's at physically. One of these days he's going to explode and prove us all wrong, but pretty much it's CD. And honestly, if you just want to go CD to my boy Schultz, you can go that way just fine. 54 and 57.
Yeah, I forgot about Schultz. That's a good one.
I think at that price point, people just want to go to Gronk almost. So like you might get a lower rostered Schultz this week, which could be pretty nice. On the flip side, T-Mac's always in play, but like you said, it's pretty much the Antonio Gibson show, and they're going to want to use him as much as possible. I mentioned last week he's getting used in the passing game with the injuries. That'll happen again this week. So keep using some Gibson, especially only 6K on DK. That's ridiculously too cheap in this game. And then I love the DeAndre call. He's a value play I look at almost every week because they do look at him more than people think. Like last week, he only had one target, but prior to that, he was a target machine. So don't sleep on DeAndre if you want to have some fun too. But potentially a good game here, probably the better morning game on the slate. Detroit at Denver. Denver -8 in this one with a whopping total of 42, Bogman.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of ways you can go in this game. None of them are quarterback, right? I don't want anything to do with Teddy Bridgewater. Don't want anything to do with Jared Goff. I do love Javonte Williams at 5,900, 6,700. Melvin Gordon should be back, but he's not going to be 100%. So I think this is more of a 3/4, right? He's not going to get the gigantic run he had last week, but he may get more yards and touchdowns against Detroit with 3/4 of the carries, maybe even half the carries that he did last week. So I love this price on him at 59, 6,700. Love it. Think it's great. I also like Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift probably not going to play. So Jamal Williams at 5,500, 6,200 is a good price as well. The wide receivers are tough. Like I just said, I don't like either one of the quarterbacks, but I think you can make a case for Jerry Jeudy because he's cheap, 56 and 63, just over the poverty line in both. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of, took over last week, this receiving job. But every time we think it's Josh Reynolds, earlier in the year, we thought it was Khalif Raymond. Earlier than that, we thought it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's been somebody new. Hawkinson's been great, though, like the last week here. So Hawkinson at 5,300 and 6,100, not a bad buy either. Don't hate the Broncos defense at 38 or 4,400 as well. But my favorite buys in this game are Javonte, 59, 67, Jamal Williams at 55 and 62.
Yeah, all I really want is I love Javonte at 59 and 67 with you 100% on that one. Think he's in for another big game. And then if you want to go, I still believe Josh Reynolds is too cheap at 41 and 53. He still had 3 or 4 catches last week for a good set of yards. If he finds the end zone, he's going to put value up there time and time again. As long as he's running out there with his old quarterback Goff, it's like a comfort zone. So I'll take Josh Reynolds instead of trying to figure out who the next best thing is. I know Brown's the guy you've been wanting all year, and he is the best guy. So maybe eventually that happens. Maybe now is the time and get him while he's cheap. But I'll keep playing Josh a little cheaper and see what happens. And I'm with you. If you want to play Broncos defense, go for it. I get the appeal there. But one of those games where I'm not super excited outside of maybe Javonte. That's like the main play for me. It's an ugly football game. Speaking of ugly, Jacksonville at Tennessee. Tennessee is -9 in this game, Bogman. -9 with a 44 over-under.
All right. I had like one player in this game. That is it. And it's Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is the one guy I like. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. And my thought is you tried to replace Derrick Henry by, they threw a lot of stuff. All right, let's try Adrian Peterson. That didn't work. They flat out cut him. Let's try Deontay Foreman. Not really working so much. He's better than Peterson, but he's not a great fit. They've been having more success throwing flares to Dontrell Hilliard than anything. McNichols should be back in this game as well. But Julio was just activated off the IR. Don't know if he's going to play, but it opened up his window, his possibility to play this weekend. And when they do it at the beginning of the week, most of the time you expect that guy to be able to practice and then come back and play on Sunday. So I do think Julio is going to play. Don't hate his price. I'm just so unsure about how this offense is going to work. But I do think that you have to, coming off the bye, change the way the offense works. I think you have to run your offense through Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to have some running plays. I think he's going to have to throw early to be able to run with a weaker running game in the second half. So I think you need to switch things up if you're Tennessee, because if you go out and hand the ball 30 times to Deontay Foreman, you're probably going to lose to Jacksonville, which is bad. I mean, we were talking about Tennessee. They beat the Rams. They beat a bunch of great teams, being a Super Bowl contender. They are not that without Derrick Henry. So they have to limp into the playoffs, then get Henry back healthy, then try to make their run. So I think you just have to find a way to win this game. I think it's on the back of Ryan Tannehill. I don't like their targets, though. I don't like Westbrook, Akina. I don't like any of the tight ends. It's been ugly, and I hate everything about Jacksonville. So I don't want any Jaguars.
I'll keep this simple. Dontrell Hilliard in a tournament, no problem with that at all. Otherwise, pass.
Fade. Yeah.
Las Vegas at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are -9 in this matchup, which surprised me a little bit. I get it, but 9.5. The over-under is 48. So where are you going here, Boggs?
I mean, who can you trust in this game? That's my question. I'm not paying for Patrick Mahomes. I'm not paying for Travis Kelce. Can't do it. Tried Derek Carr last week. Didn't work. Don't think it's going to work against a better defense this week. I'm okay with Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 61.65. I like Josh Jacobs at 62.71. Okay, but not better than a couple of my other plays that I've already mentioned. I'm not paying up for Tyreek Hill because they haven't been getting it done. Hunter Renfrow still affordable at 61 and 6,700. Nobody else. Darren Waller's questionable. Foster Moreau let us down, and he's more expensive this week. I mean, maybe the Chiefs defense is the best play in this game at 33 and 37. But I think the only trustable players to me, really, at their price are CEH, who played a little bit less last week because he had an illness during the week. So him and Darrell split. I think it'll be more CEH. And they've been giving the ball to Jacobs, and Kenyon Drake is down. Those are the two trustable players I see in this game.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I can't pay for Mahomes. One of these days he's going to get it going again, but it's tough to feel. I could see the Carr argument if you think Vegas has to try to keep up, and they can. If they keep up, Carr's going to be a big reason why. So if you're playing the tournament angles like we talked about with the Buffalo game, Carr's a great value at 59 and 72. Just can he do it? Your question, because this Chiefs defense has been darn good. So it's a real question. We've seen Carr and the Raiders go into Kansas City before and really shock us. So nothing's off the table. It's just a big risk, but I don't mind it at $5,900 if you want to go there. Otherwise, I like Josh Jacobs at 62 and 71 because he's getting utilized a lot in the passing game now, a lot. So in a game where they need to run the ball, dump it off a lot with that new pass rush that Kansas City's using very well, I think Jacobs at 62 and 71 is a phenomenal tournament play this week. Even if you don't want to stack this game, I like Jacobs a lot for that angle. Otherwise, it's like, sure, you can always try to pay for Tyreek or Kelce if you want. I'd rather have Kelce a little cheaper, and I trust Kelce more consistently than the way that Tyreek's working right now. It's a mess either way you look at it. I prefer Jacobs and Renfrow as my favorite plays in this game, period, just because the volume should be there. Otherwise, Chiefs defense is fine if you want to go there at 33 and 37. But it's kind of weird feeling. It's going to be an ugly game, but I think the Raiders might have some decent value in the game if they get close to that total we're looking for. New Orleans at the New York Jets. Oof. New Orleans -5.5 over under 43.5.
There are two guys I like in this game, and they're both just cheap. It's Jamison Crowder at 47 and 55 because I don't know if Moore's going to play, and we know Corey Davis isn't. So I'll take him. Maybe Ty Johnson at 44 and 49. But my other guy that I like is Nick Van Ed at 31 and 47. After that, this whole game is going to be a no for me, dog.
A no for you, dog. Yeah, no, I understand that one. I think Kamara is interesting. Just not sure I want to pay that price point at this point in time. So pretty much I want the New Orleans defense if you want to pay for it. If you want to pay 36 and 5K, 100% on board with that because you can target the Jets anytime you want. Otherwise, said it before the show, a lot of cross-off spots for me, and this is another one of them. Giants at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers -10.5 over under 44.5.
I think there's a couple guys you could pay for in this game. Not a ton here either, though. I don't particularly care for this game. Let's say you can pay for Austin Eckler almost any week in 83 and 92. It's expensive, but if you wanted him to be your centerpiece, I get it. the COVID going around this wide receiver room for the Chargers. We don't know who's going to end up being there. So if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both out, I like Josh Palmer at 3,000, Jalen Guyton at 3,400 are both good DFS prices here. I have no idea who is even playing for the Giants, so pass on that. Jared Cook with both those guys down as a cheap tight end option. He's only $100 more than Nick Vanette at 32 and 5,100, and he has experience. So should they be missing a lot of their targets from the wide receiver room, I think Jared Cook is a nice pivot at 32 and 5,100. Other than that, maybe either one of the defenses. The Giants are cheap, so maybe I'd take them if they're going to be out their two best pass catchers in Allen and Williams. But I hate this game too.
Yeah, massive wait and see thing on the news situation. But if Keenan plays, I love Keenan and Herbert. That connection is expensive, but it's great. Keenan, I think I saw, has 15 or more DK points in like 10 or 11 of the games this season. Like, he's been that consistently good. So Keenan and Herbert, zero problem there. Don't really feel like paying that much for Eckler on this slate. I guess I get it if you want, but it's pretty much Keenan and Herbert, and you could look at Jared Cook at 32 and 51. I could see that being some use because you can get the Giants with the tight ends pretty well. That's a big thing this year. So Jared Cook could be in for a big one as long as Donald Parham doesn't screw him on those. But
Steven Anderson will score a touchdown every once in a while too.
True. Yeah, it's a mess. But Cook, I like overall at 32 and 51 if you want to go that route. Otherwise, like you said, Chargers D, but it's very expensive. Very, very expensive. Seattle at Houston, another just fun-filled football game here. You got Seattle minus 7.5, over under 41.5. I
think there's a little to buy here, at least. You know, I could see going with Russell at 66 and 75. I think he looked back. If you want to throw a dart on Penny, I get it at 48 and 53. I don't really want to mess with any of that. I like Metcalf, 65 and 7,300. This is a perfect place to get his confidence back, right? You have him go out, you throw him the ball 15 times. He comes down with 7 of them and scores twice, right? You get DK Metcalf's confidence back up to where it should be, since he hasn't been great with, 50% of Russell Wilson out there the last month. So I like DK Metcalf in a pay up spot. 65 and 73 is one of his lower prices of the year as well. And that is all I like from this game. Maybe Seattle's defense at 31 and 45.
Yeah, another tricky one. Like, if you believe that Seattle's back, then yeah, Wilson and a DK could be interesting because eventually Metcalf's going to go off, and this is the perfect storm, especially at 65 and 73 at that discounted price, which is crazy. I also think if you want to take a gamble in a tournament like with a Freddie Swain or a D. Eskridge at 32 and 33, they both been having theirs, but it's risky to see who's going to get it. So pretty much keep it simple with Metcalf and Wilson if you want. Otherwise, again, simple here. Seattle defense, 31 and 45. That's why it's hard to pay up for that Chargers defense so much. We've got so many like low 3K defenses that are good. So Seattle at 31 and 45 definitely makes for a fun one, to say the least. Now we get some fun football right here. San Francisco at Cincinnati. Cincinnati -1 in this one with an over-under of 48.5, Bogman.
Yeah, this is our last one of the day, too. So, but I think this game is stackable. I think you could stack whatever side you want here. Burrow at 6,000, 7,100 is a good price. I know Jimmy G doesn't instill a lot of confidence, but I think he's okay at this price. There's better options, but he's okay. Mixon's a little banged up, but 77.85 is okay. I don't know who's running the ball for San Francisco, so I'm just going to avoid it for now. If Eli is playing, I like Eli, 67 and 74, but he's in concussion protocol as we record this. I like T. Higgins. He has an ankle thing, though, so maybe the pivot is towards a more expensive Chase, 69.72, or a less expensive Tyler Boyd at 5,059. I think I'm okay with either one of those. Anytime Debo plays, you can play him. I'm not paying that much for George Kittle. I just can't do it. Ayuk at 58 and 64 is okay. So I like this game, but I'd say the prices make most of these guys maybes instead of must starts.
And I think that's what makes this game a much more, I guess, intriguing. I don't know if that's the right word, game to attack when most are going
low
to look
rosters. Yeah.
When most look at like the Tampa Bay Buffalo game or maybe go somewhere else, this kind of makes it interesting. Like, I love Burrow in most formats. I think you can work on this San Francisco team. The problem is their pass rush is good, and we know Cincinnati's offensive line is dreadful. Right. So, and what's his pinky situation? He hurt it early last game. He still played well. So I think he'll be okay, but he's only 6K and 71, which I think makes things very, very interesting in this matchup. So Joe Burrow is in play for this one if you want to stack it up. If Mixon's healthy, he's always in play because through the passing game or the running game, no problem there either. Keep an eye on the San Francisco running back news. If Eli's in, phenomenal play. 67 and 74, great price point. Phenomenal price point. You play Eli Mitchell if he's in. Otherwise, if Jeff Wilson's healthy, JaMychal Hasty's healthy, keep an eye on that situation because they're both super cheap. Could be interesting. Flip side, love T. Higgins still at 64 and 68. No problem with that at all, assuming he plays. But Tyler Boyd at 5K and 59 has been getting a lot of looks lately. A lot of looks. So it's a way to save some money.
And if Boyd doesn't play, that'd be a great pick.
Yeah, that could be big as well. So there's a lot of injuries surrounding this potentially, but also a lot to like in this game. It's like second highest total on the slate. A tight game means the game should be back and forth with the spread-wise. Should keep this game in it. Debo, if he comes back, like Ayuk's a phenomenal price point at 58 and 64. If Debo doesn't play, got Jawan Jennings only at 33, which I think is interesting. And if Debo doesn't play, we saw how much they rely on George Kittle. So that's another trickle-down effect. Obviously, Kittle's more expensive this week. People saw what he did last week, so he's going to be more popular as well. So that kind of changes things. But I'm a big fan of this game. I prefer the Burrow side of it with some sprinkled in Niners. But if you want to play Jimmy, no one's going to roster him. And I get it. I totally get it. I played him a few weeks ago against Minnesota in some lineups. He can get there. He just doesn't have the ceiling of Joe Burrow has. And that's the difference in tournaments. So that's why I prefer Joe Burrow. But this is the game to look at if you want to make things differently. That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's have some fun recapping some things, Bogman. And yeah, this is going to be a tough one here because not a lot of good games. Who are your favorite quarterbacks this week?
For me, I've got Dak and Heineke in the same game, and then Ryan Tannehill as my third.
I'm going to go Dak, Brady, Burrow.
Okay, so I like it.
I'm not in love with a lot right now. Running backs, what are you liking in this one?
Well, you know, I love Lenny, even though it's expensive, 74 and 76. Let's go with the Williamses in that game, Javonte and Jamal. I think they could both be pretty solid.
Yeah, I got Lenny, Javonte, and Gibson. So not a lot of switching things up in this one. Wide receivers, though, we should have a few more options. Not a ton more, but we should have a few more. So who you liking in this one?
Well, for my expensive guys, I like Lamb and Metcalf. So those are my favorites. If I had to pick one, I'd lean towards Metcalf just because he's a little cheaper at 65 and 7,300. So we'll say he's my favorite of the week. I said Russell Gage too, between him and Sanders. I think I'd still go with Russell Gage. So 5,700, 6,200. So I guess make my three: Lamb, Metcalf, and Gage.
Yeah, I'm trying to narrow down. I like the Gage call, but I'll be different. I went Higgins, assuming he plays. If he doesn't play, Boyd becomes a phenomenal play, like we talked about. I'm going to go with DJ Moore in tournaments. I think there's definitely something there in that game, especially if it does turn into an offensive game like we're kind of hoping for. At least I'm kind of hoping for. So I think there's some angles to go with on that one. And then, oh, man, it's just dreadful. Like I didn't mention Elijah Moore because he's all banged up, but he could be an interesting tournament play still.
Crowder could be too if he doesn't.
Yeah, so that could be something in that game. So I'll go Elijah Moore for now. Just know that there could be risk. But if he does suit up, he seems to, quote unquote, be defensive and quarterback proof so far. He's shocking me in that system. I thought he was done when Wilson came back, and I've been completely wrong. So totally off on that one. Give me a couple tight ends you like this week.
Well, I like Jared Cook specifically because we don't know. Like even if these guys do play, you know, are they asymptomatic? Are they going to be okay? Who knows? So I like Jared Cook at 32 and 5,100. Nick Van Nett, 31 and 47. They just lost Deontay Harris too. New Orleans did. So got to throw the ball to somebody. And he's a somebody that's on the field a lot of times. And John Bates with no Logan Thomas. I expect that to be a pass-heavy game between Dallas and Washington, maybe one of the few stackable games on this slate. So John Bates as a very, very cheap 4,600 option.
Yeah, I like those for sure. I'm going to go with Jared Cook of the Chargers and Dalton Schultz. Those would be the two guys I'd be looking at in this one. And then what do you have any defenses circled? If not, no worries.
I didn't circle any, but I mean, Seattle against Houston is probably my favorite one.
All righty. Yeah, I have Seattle and I have Cleveland. Cleveland, that could be a value one. That could be a value one to keep in mind. If you're stacking things up this week, we know Tampa Bay Buffalo is popular. Niners, Bengals. What else are you looking at this week?
Washington, Dallas, and Seattle against Houston.
I like the Seattle call as well. I will say if all things turn out healthy, you can stack the Chargers.
That's true.
because people say, well, no, they're going to blow them out. Well, they got to get those points to blow them out. And there's probably one path to get there. So that's where I'll say that. And then the most important thing, and this is where you have to follow LineStar on Twitter at LineStar app and at LineStar NFL. You have to get all that good stuff out there. Is the touchdown calls of the week from Bogman, myself, and Ryan Humphreys. Last week we went 3 for 3 Bogman, which was tremendous. And so if you guys retweet the touchdown call of the week that they tweet out, 3 lucky retweeters get paired with each one of us, and you have a chance to win some free swag. So Bogman, who you got as your touchdown call of the week for week 14?
Give me my man Leonard Fournette against Buffalo. So love this rushing attack. That's what New England did. I think Tampa Bay gets to it too. I think Lenny gets in the end zone. Give me touchdown, Lenny.
Yeah, you took him. I was afraid you were going to take him. I was afraid you were. That's a great one. Touchdown Lenny is a good one. I'll go a little off the map here, and I'm going to go give me Dalton Schultz. I'm going to take a tough one.
You love Dalton Schultz.
The dude's good. He's
He
good.
is.
Doesn't get the love he deserves. He's good. He just doesn't find the end zone a ton, but this could be a good week against Washington. So give me Dalton Schultz. You get playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, all the time Lenny now, whatever you want to call him. The dude's a beast. But it should be a fun one. It's not the best of schedules because the Dolphins aren't on it. I get it. But we'll see what happens. Should be a fun one. And most importantly, if you download the app, the LineStar app, and the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, you'll be set up and good to go. Even with all the news, everything, projections will change for you. You'll be ready to rock and roll. Make sure you check out LineStar on YouTube. Subscribe there. You can watch this show and other shows that LineStar's pumping out there for you, give you all the content you need to build your winning lineups. But for now, we'll wrap it up there. Check out Bogman on Twitter at Bogman Sports. I'm at BD Entrick. We'll be back with you guys Tuesday with your recap show. But for now, good luck, everybody.
Good luck.
Thanks for listening to Pre-Snap Podcast, presented by LineStar app. Please like, comment, subscribe, and rate for good karma in your fantasy football games.